It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. I'm Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst. I'm also a certified financial planner. And I am joined, though you can't hear him right now, by Mark Talercio. He's our executive producer. He's also a certified financial planner. And you know how we take the mystery out of your financial life? We ask you to come to our website, to jillonmoney.com, and just click the Contact Us button. And there you'll be asked, what's your question? You fill out the form, you do everything you're supposed to do, and maybe if you're not too shy, you click the box that says you would be willing to come on the air with us. And then Mark does the rest. He brings you on, we answer your question. It's a lot of fun. And I promise, even if you're shy, we make it pretty easy. You can always change your name. Shh, don't tell anyone. You can even change where you are. Shh, don't tell anyone. Anyway, we'd love to have you join us. Today, we start the program with Kay from Georgia.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I really appreciate you taking my call. I wanted to talk to you about my current financial situation, which is a little different than my previous one. I'm making a lot more money now than I have previously. I'm an attorney. And previously, I chose my jobs based on what I would find to be most interesting. And recently, in the past couple of years, I actually found a job that's interesting and pays well. So
I love that combination. How much are you earning?
Right now, I make around $203,000, and I get a yearly bonus, which is around 30%.
Wow. So you're making $200,000 plus 30%?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's great.
I know. I'm so excited. Thank you. And that is a lot more than I've ever made previously. So I'm in celebration mode.
That's great. Do you have a retirement plan through work that you're using?
Yes. So I have a 401k. There's not a whole lot in it right now because I just started with this current employer. But I'm putting it all, I'm using a Roth 401k at my employer. And it's an aggressive mix. It's about 60% in the S&P 500 and then 20% with my employer's stock fund and then 10% mid cap and 10% small cap.
Mark just did the one of my favorite sounders that we like to use, which is the 20% in the stock fund. That seems like a lot.
It's funny you say that because my thinking was that I should have some buy-in with my employer and I should have some faith in their success in life. So
get over that. That's not, get over that. That is how can I say that? That's baloney, which is one of those terms that I like to use every so often. Pull it out of my little hat of tricks. First of all, no one in your organization is looking at your 401k allocation. I'll tell you that right now. Number two, you are already fully invested by doing a great job. And really just keep the stock fund to like 5%, maybe 10% at max. That's it. I mean, because there's no reason to do that. I mean, even if you are at the best company in the world, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. So if the company is killing it and making a lot of money and all of a sudden your 5% position swells up to 12%, then when you reallocate on your annual basis and you rebalance, you make sure you take the money out of the stock fund. But no, 20% is far too much in a single stock fund, even if it's the company you work for and you love them.
Okay, got it.
All right.
I even wrote down the word baloney, so I got
baloney. Baloney. Okay.
And this is the first time, by the way, I've been able to max out my 401k, so I'm really excited. I'm doing that.
How old are you?
I'm 45. Divorced, no kids, except for the four-legged type.
Oh, what kind of dog?
Well, actually, I have a cat and a rabbit.
A rabbit?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
She's adorable.
All right. Well, send us pictures. We'll put it on the web. Do we have a rabbit?
I was going to say, you definitely need a rabbit on the website. So
Mark, do we have a rabbit on the website or not? I don't think we do.
I'm going to make that happen.
All right, good. All right. What else? What do you do?
Right,
so let's just talk a little bit. So you're just maxing out. How much? So when did you start this new job?
Almost 2 years ago.
So how much money's in the 401k right now?
Right now, it's about $27,000.
Okay, great. And what about other money that you have saved?
Yeah. So previously I had a 401k from another employer, plus a SEP, plus a couple of pension buy-ins that were never going to come to fruition. Initially I had written in saying that I was contemplating engaging a wealth manager because I did have a wealth manager reach out to me who's sort of related to my employer. And I was wondering if that made sense to do that. The charge for the wealth manager is 1.2%. In the end, I did decide to engage the wealth manager for a couple reasons. One was because I really didn't want to have to do all those rollovers by myself. It seemed like a ton of work. So laziness was one factor. Another factor was I just needed a friend to talk to. So, my family, we don't have a ton of money. I don't have any resources to talk to about investing. And even when it came to allocating my 401k, I thought I knew what was best, but as you can see, I don't necessarily know a lot about it. So I really just wanted to have someone to be able to talk to. That might sound sad, but
no. I get you. It's like it's a lot to take on. How much is in that rollover account now?
The total is $280,000.
Okay.
And the allocation, so she basically created like 4 different brokerage accounts, and the 280 is split half in stocks. I mean, a little over half in stocks, and then 25% in ETFs and 25% in mutual funds.
Mark, what am I going to do to make sure that I don't jump out of my skin right now? So wait a second. 280,000. I just want to make sure I understand this. It's all rollover. It's one rollover account. Is there only one? You said 4 accounts.
Yeah, they split it into 4 accounts.
Why?
I don't know why.
I know why. So here's what I think has happened. That you are now in a large institution with someone who is not a financial planner, but is, a pretty classic broker type. Okay. And the reason why they split into 4 accounts is that each of those accounts is sort of labeled internally. Like, here's the stock allocation. Like, it's not like this person's picking these for you. It's just like they slot you into a different allocation for each of them. It's almost like, Mark, it's almost like a sub account in an insurance policy. That's kind of how they run it internally. I mean, look, 1.2% is not that much money when you consider that it is $280,000. I mean, there's plenty of times I've looked at these kinds of accounts and they're like 2.5%. So it's, not horrible, but it's a little bit more than what you need. Now that all the rollover is done, I don't know how much you really want to talk to this person, but I'm going to suggest that you may consider something else. So in the rollover 4 accounts, let's just do this again. There's one that's ETFs, right?
Yes.
There's one that's stocks.
Yes.
Is one mutual funds?
Yes.
Okay. And are those mutual funds proprietary to the institution? In other words, does it say the name of the company and the funds, or are they fund families that you recognize?
Some I recognize and some are proprietary, I believe.
Okay. Because the proprietary funds, we can't do anything. And what's the 4th account again?
I know. Good question. I didn't write it down. I'm not sure.
Do you want to stay with this person or not? You got to tell me, because I'm about to tell you what to do. But if you really want to stay with this person, then I'm going to give you a different piece of advice.
No, I already thought about breaking up with her after she did all my rollovers.
Nice. By the way, Kay is just awesome. I love this. We'll get back to Kay's question in just a second. If you'd like to come on the air, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll do the rest. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And when we're in the midst of volatile times, and gosh, what defines volatility more than geopolitical risk of Russia invading Ukraine, of markets gyrating, of worries escalating? If all this gets you a little hyped up, I've got the answer for you. Let us take the temperature down for you. How do we do that? We answer the questions about the things over which you can exert some control. There's so much that's out of our control. We cannot control the price at the pump. We cannot control the price of the cars that are out there. What we can control are the things that are going on in your own life. And so if you've got a question, if something's kind of bugging you, or maybe you've got a tax issue or something that you are considering, a move that you're considering making, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a different choice of a college for you or for your kids, we'd love to hear from you. All you need to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button. You fill out a form. At the end of the form, it says, do you want to come on the air with us? And if you check that yes box, then Mark does everything because he is a master. He does everything that we need to have done. So it's that easy. And by the way, while you're on the website, why not just do something that's very easy? Sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Comes out every single Friday. Mark does this great job of compiling really interesting stuff from around the web. All right, so let's get back to Kay, who is on the line from Georgia. Here's some choices for you. You're going to have one rollover account. Thank God. I am going to suggest to you that you seek advice, not so much with this human being, because now, like, you're divorced, everything's good, you can talk to someone else. But there are many places you can go. For example, you've heard of a company called Vanguard or Charles Schwab, and they have portfolio management systems that are also aligned with a financial advisor. They have like minimums of like 50 grand or 25 grand. It's not that much. Or Betterment, which is, I think, a minimum of 100 grand. But anyway, if you go to Vanguard or Schwab, you should check it out. You can move all of the account into one rollover account. That's all you need. One account with the $280,000. Do you own a home? Like what else is going on that you need actual financial planning? It seems to me like you're divorced, you got your cat, you got your rabbit, you're finally making a bunch of money, you're putting a lot of money away, and now you're restarting basically at age 45. And so if you like what you're doing and you're making a lot of money, you should be fine. Do you own a home?
I own 2 homes.
Oh, not one, but 2.
Yep.
Let's talk about the primary first.
Okay. So the primary, I just purchased it maybe about a year ago. At the time it was 408, and now the value in this area is really growing. So it's valued at 460 right now.
Okay.
But, basically fully mortgaged at this point. I think I owe like 380.
380, what's the rate?
2.875.
Ooh, is it a 30-year?
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. Okay. Now, second property. What is that?
Second property is the one I used to live in previously that I'm sentimentally attached to. I bought it about 10 years ago for around 190, but it's valued right now at 325. And I will say, my sister's in it right now. She's using it while her house gets renovated, but she'll be out probably by April or May. And then I'm going to have to decide what to do with the house. And, I'm sentimentally attached to it. And rents are good in that area, but I don't know if they're good enough to justify hanging on to it.
Is there a mortgage outstanding on it?
Yes, there's about 122 left on it.
What's the interest rate?
3.25.
How much could you rent it for?
Well, the real estate agent thinks I can rent it for maybe close to $3,000 a month.
Wow.
I know.
Is it close by?
It's about an hour and a half away. So I would have to have a property management company, I think.
I'm not going to tell you to just sell it, because this could be a property that provides nice income for you, right? And even if it's, let's just say that you don't actually clear $3,000 a month. Maybe it's $2,500 a month. I'm kind of intrigued. You got my attention. That's a big enough number. And if does it need a lot of work? What do you think? Do you think that this is sounds like something that feels kind of like, it's going to be hard? Tell me a little bit more about the property itself.
Yeah. So the property itself, the house, it was built in 1920. So it's old and it's been redone, but it's got the original heart of pine floors. And, if anyone destroys it, I'll probably cry. But the house itself is in pretty good shape, except it's going to need a new HVAC soon. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's in good shape. It's just the fact that it's so old. There could be things that come up that have to be done, things I can't anticipate right now.
I don't know. You could try renting it for a while and see how it goes. And you can always sell it if you want to, because, there's 200 grand, right?
Yeah, no, I was thinking I could at least try it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Then if it doesn't work out, sell
You
it.
can always sell it. Exactly. I mean, you don't have a ton of money. You're going to be working in your $260,000 a year job for another 20 years or so. Are there any other assets? Do you have a drawer full of crypto that you're not telling me about?
No, but I have a drawer full of debt I haven't told you about.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
It's just a small drawer. Don't worry.
There we go. What's going on debt-wise? I had the mortgages and I was all excited. What's next?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that bad.
Right.
I have some student loan debt. I am an attorney. So, when I was picking all my jobs for interesting things instead of financial things, that meant I'm still paying off my student loan. So I owe 113 on the student loans, but I have the rate down to 2.796. And it will be paid off in 2029.
Yeah. Every time you get a bonus, just use it and pay off that student loan.
Okay. I was wondering if I should.
Yeah,
because obviously
absolutely.
I have some excess funds right now that I can do something with. So I was trying to figure out, do I invest more or do I pay off the student loan?
No, let's just get rid of this. You'll be done with this in a few years. You're not going to pay this. We're not going to wait around for this.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if you sold the house, I would have you pay it off, right?
Okay.
But no, let's whittle this down. That's fine.
Okay.
That's totally fine. All right, Kay, what else is going on? Now that you're divorced, do you have like your new estate documents? Do your sister going to get everything? Like, what are you doing?
Yes. My mom and my sister are going to be rich if I kick the bucket. So my only other question is really, I think I can do an extra $6,000 in an IRA, but should I do that with, the bonus money or?
No, let's just pay off the student loans right now and then we'll figure it out.
So if I do get to the point where I'm doing the extra retirement investment, it would be like the $6,000 in an IRA. And then is there anything else that I should just be thinking about?
You have a brokerage account. It would be just not a big deal to have a brokerage account for someone like you. It's fine.
In fact, because you're not going to be able to do a Roth IRA, right? You make too much money. I would just do a brokerage. I would just forget. I wouldn't even use a traditional IRA. I would just do a brokerage.
Just do a brokerage account. Okay. You're right, Mark. You are right. Just a plain old brokerage. It's perfect. That would be fine. I think that you're in good shape. And I think that obviously you had to do a little restart after the divorce and you got the job. You now, basically traded your values for money, which I've done many times. And I encourage that, by the way.
I know you do, Jill.
Selling out is not as bad. Let's not have a judgment on that. We have student loans to retire. You can be charitable later. I think you're in good shape. So let's keep this going. Let us know how it goes with the rental, right? I mean, if that becomes a pain in the butt and you end up selling it, then do pay down the debt with the proceeds. Absolutely. Okay. And then and whatever's left over, you have in a brokerage account, and that's where you go from there. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Do you have questions about something going on in your financial life? Well, we really would love to help you out. All you need to do is go to jillonmoney.com. Click the Contact Us button. We'll answer your question. And while you're there, you can check out all the neat content that is on the site, like the TV appearances, like blog posts. It's all there. Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's jump right back into the questions from you guys. It's Diane from Illinois. Welcome to the program. What can we do for you?
Thank you very much. It's so nice to be here. We have kind of an interesting situation, at least for us. My husband just started a second job in July, and it's not something we were intending. And so we have not quite double our current income, but pretty close. And I think what we want to know at the root of it is, are we doing enough for retirement? And if so, then we have other things we want to do with that money. And if we're not doing enough, well, we have a whole extra money coming in. Maybe you can help us fix how to do that. So I think that's the question.
How does he have another? Is this like two full-time jobs, or is this a part-time job? Is this a side hustle? Like, tell me a little bit more.
It is two full-time jobs. So he's a professor, and then he's just as of this summer, he's also an Episcopal priest. So it all works out schedule-wise and time-wise, but he's going pretty much 24/7.
That's a lot. Okay, so the first job is the professorship. And do you work as well?
I do. I just have a little part-time job, so I don't make very much, maybe about 15.
Okay. You guys have kids?
We do. We've got two boys, 9 and 12.
How old are you guys?
I'm 42 and he's 47.
Okay. As a professor, what does he earn?
He's making 57.
57. Okay. As an Episcopal priest, what does he earn?
55.
Which is the job that provides benefits, or do they both?
Well, technically they could both. So right now, all of our health stuff is with the professor job, but it could go to the priest job if it needed to.
So in retirement, tell me what you're putting away. Like in the professorship job,
Right.
Is it a 403B?
It must be. It's through TIA crap. It's
Yep, definitely. How much money's in there?
okay. So he's got 113 in there right now. He puts in 2.5% and they put in 5%.
Now, the second job, tell me what is that?
So
Like retirement.
we're not doing anything with that, but they provide a pension.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. And so I figured out if he stays there for 20 years, he'll make about $1,600 a month.
So is that it for retirement, his 403B, or do you have an IRA, or does he have an old IRA kicking around also?
I've got a Roth, and so I just put $500 a month in that. So I've got $65,000 in that.
Nice.
Well, good. I'm glad. Every little bit helps.
Any non-retirement assets that you guys have?
Not too much. We have a $20,000 emergency fund, and I just opened a brokerage account in May, so we have about $3,500 in that. And we've got 529s for the kids.
How much is in there for each kid?
Let's see. So the older one has 30, and the younger one has 20.
Are you continuing to fund those, or are those sort of like one and done? Like, did you dump money in, or are you continually putting money in?
With the professor job, they'll get tuition free for colleges, which is great, right? But we're not 100% sure he's going to be able to sustain both jobs because it's all the time.
You think? Guy's got two full-time jobs. It's like Mark has two full-time jobs, but, I pay him a lot for that.
Right. So I think I guess I'm hedging my bets. I guess what I'd like to do is, like, we started beefing up the 529s. We were putting in like $75 a month for the longest time. And now we're chucking in a lot more just so we have that freedom to not be tied to that other one if we can't sustain it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want, we'll get into that in a second. Tell me about the house. What do you own your home?
We do. It's a 30-year mortgage, so it's 3.65%, and we owe 123 on it, and it's worth maybe 200, 220.
And you're going to stay there? Like, you like where you live?
We do, yeah.
Okay. And are there any other assets floating around that we should know about, like any rental property or anything like that?
No, nothing else. We're pretty straightforward.
Okay, that sounds good. Does he have a preference for one versus the other? And how long has he been doing the two for? How long has he been doing these two jobs?
So he's been doing the two for 6 months. I see it either going for the rest of his career, he'll do both, or it'll be about 2 years and he'll have to pick one. I can see kind of either one going, just sort of basing off what I know about him. I honestly, this is my opinion, but I don't see him walking away from the church. So I think if one went, it would be, going down to adjunct at the college or having to walk away from that, but it'd be painful for him. So
it's hard to break up with God.
Right?
It's a real high bar that you're putting out there. Okay. So big picture.
Yeah.
You are calling saying, are we doing enough for retirement? Let's just say that he is the Episcopal priest. Like, that seems to me like you could do that for a long time. So when are we trying to target retirement? Like, what is the age of retirement that we're thinking about?
I think it's pretty flexible. So I think you're right. I think the official retirement age is 72. Like, then they say, no, you really should retire from this.
Okay.
research, but I see anywhere from 67 to 72.
Okay, I understand. While you are making all of this money, what do your expenses look like? What do you spend right now?
I mean, we've put all the money into different places in the last 6 months just to make sure we're not, piddling it away without realizing it. But at the root of it, what we need is like $4,000 a month. We're retired. That's all we need. And the rest is just what can we do to get ahead a little bit or give it away, that kind of a thing.
Give it away. I want to give it to you first. Let's take care of you guys first. You and your charitableness, you and your Episcopalian charity. Come on now. Okay. So think about this.
Okay.
So $4,000 a month. Okay. And in 20 years, he would get $1,600 a month from the pension, and he would get Social Security. Have you done a Social Security estimate at his full retirement age?
I did like a ballpark one, and I thought it was like 3,800 or something like that.
And that would be just his or his and yours?
That's a good question. I might have combined it because mine was about 1,000.
Yeah, that sounds like a combo. Okay. So it sounds to me like you're pretty on target to meet your needs generally. It's not perfect. We have to factor in inflation and all that. I think you are looking good. We'll get back to Diane in just a second. If you've got a financial question, JillOnMoney.com. That's the website. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And in the times when we hear from you guys, I always think it's interesting because, when the market's roaring higher, we hear from you. We hear, oh, I don't want to own bonds anymore. What should I do? I hate bonds. Bonds are scary. And then we have one drop or a couple drops, and then all of a sudden it's bonds, or fixed annuities or variable annuities, whatever it is. Well, we know that these times can breed a lot of anxiety. And if that's where you're feeling, if that's what you're feeling, and you want to try to do something different in your financial life, we sure would like to hear from you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll get your note. And of course, don't forget to tell us if you'll come on the air. We really would like that. Maybe while you're on the website, the other thing you can do is check out the resources section. There's a lot of great stuff there. And if you have a suggestion for something you think we should add, well, then tell us that as well. All right, let's get back to our conversation with Diane. Ideally, if I'm really being brutalist about this, I would like you to put more money away into his 403B. I really would. 2.5%. It's just not that much money. Does he have a Roth 403B option?
I don't think so. I'll double check, but it's never come across.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say at least 5% and more like 10% is what I'd like his contribution to be. Now, of course, if he leaves there in 2 years, it's all going to be moot anyway. So then the next part of that is if you guys are looking at him leaving, we have to think about what is it that you really need? And then I don't know, when he goes, if he were to do adjunct, it would be probably more like, I don't know what, 15, 20 grand a year rather than 57.
Right. It'd be nothing. Yeah.
It would be, not nothing, but it would be something. But I don't know how much more you could put away. But if you were going to put away anything, we would want you to keep putting money into your Roth. He would open up a Roth for himself also. And that's what you guys would do. You would max out your Roths each year. And that would be, I think, probably pretty much what you could afford on that salary, on one salary. Is that right?
Makes sense to me.
And I just stop putting money into the 529 plan. It's fine. Like what you have is fine. He shouldn't feel like he's going to kill himself and, have 2 jobs to just get these kids through college. It would be nice. But like if he really, I don't know, if for an adjunct, they probably don't pay for school. I don't know if you get any sort of break for being part of the system, even if you're not full time.
I don't know. I'd want him to kind of negotiate that in if he could. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Even if it were like, okay, not 100%, but 50%, that would be huge for you guys. Huge. Is there any other debt besides the mortgage floating around?
No, nothing.
Insurance? Do you have some life insurance for you guys?
Do. And I guess my question with that is that, like, I don't contribute that much financially. I'm aware I have a lot of value in the family, but as far as money goes, like we only have 100 on me. Is there any reason to have more on me? If I were to pass, like the kids could be at home alone. They're old enough to do that, and their grandparents. And
okay. I mean, no, not really. Usually when they're really young, we say yes, because then if you're the primary caretaker and instead of, them being 9 and 12, they're, 3 and 6, then we're like, we need to hire somebody, right? But if they're really, sort of more in their self-sufficient mode, and if you have family to help, then you don't need that. And how much life insurance does he have?
He has 500.
I feel like he needs a little more. Because again, here's the problem. The reason is that if he dies before he gets that pension benefit, you could really be at risk.
Okay.
Do you get it privately or through work?
It's half and half. So we have 250 and the church has 250.
I mean, if you can buy more, then do that.
Okay.
If you can get it through the church, for sure. Because I feel like just like in the near term, and I mean like 10 years, especially like the next 10 years while the boys are still, youngish is one aspect of it. But also like, I really think you might need, he has whatever, 19 years to go to get that pension. And without that pension, you're in trouble. Okay. Unless you get a new husband fast. How do you feel about that as your insurance policy? How, could that be something that no, I'm totally kidding. So I think I'd really like more like $1 million. All right. That makes sense, right?
Oh, absolutely.
How about the estate planning?
Yeah, we've got all that done. For what?
All right.
It's there. Yeah.
I love that. I think it's tough to work 2 full-time jobs, and we don't want to drive this man to, go insane. So I think that you encouraging him to say, look, just go do the thing you love. If you loved being an Episcopal priest, then be that. That's maybe the job you can do for 20 years. There's a huge payoff for doing it. Go adjunct. And like, is there any chance for you, Diane, that as the kids get older, you'd earn a little bit more?
I think in the hundreds per month, I could do that. I take lessons on the side. I could, up those.
All right. Yeah, like let's get a little hustle going. No, I'm only kidding. What else is on your question list? What haven't we helped you with today?
I think the one question I have with the putting 5 to 10% in the 403B, should he just open a Roth instead, or is there a reason?
Yeah, he could do that. It depends. I want to try to make it as frictionless as possible.
Okay.
So if it's like, once the money goes into the savings and checking, it just kind of disappears. If it happens more seamlessly by using the 403B, then do it. If it is like no big deal and you're doing your own Roth, then sure, then rock and roll and get his Roth going. If there were a 403B Roth option, then that would be the first choice.
Okay, this helps so much. I really appreciate it.
If you'd like to join us on the program, all you need to do is go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button. We'll get your note. Mark does the rest. How great is that? Okay, we'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish up the hour, let's take an email. Let's answer a question. This is from Jim, who says, I plan on retiring at the end of 2023. I currently have a $400,000 mortgage outstanding. I just finished a kitchen living room remodel. So now I have a $180,000 home equity line of credit. My current net worth is $7 million. Oh boy, cue the hate mail. I'm going to be selling my share of my dental practice. So do I wait and pay it off when that money comes in? Seems like I don't want to raid a brokerage account and pay the capital gains in that account just to pay off a low interest loan. My mortgage and this home equity loan are the only personal debts. What do you think? This is sort of an embarrassment of riches question, isn't it really? I mean, you got $7 million. So, I mean, you can wait, no big deal. I guess the other thing you could do is if you were thinking about rebalancing your portfolio for any reason, or if there was something in the portfolio that was bugging you, you can get rid of it. But yeah, you can wait till you sell the dental practice. It just doesn't make a big difference. So I just wouldn't sweat this at all, really, not at all. However, if you don't have $7 million and you're listening to this and it's sort of driving you crazy, I get it, I know. But everyone's got financial questions and we are here to answer those questions. So if you have something that's kind of bugging you or something on your mind or something that's of concern, or maybe you just want a second opinion or a third opinion, because there's both me and Mark, then just go to the website, jillonmoney.com. Click the Contact Us button and send us your note. And, you know, if you want to come on the air, it's much better, I promise you, because I have a lot of questions for this guy selling his practice with $7 million, our $7 million man. I really want to know more about him, but because he just sent the note and didn't come on the air, I don't get to know as much. Anyway, go to jillonmoney.com and we'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money. And in this hour, I'm so delighted to present an interview that I conducted with Spencer Jacob. He is an editor at the Wall Street Journal. He's also an author of a really interesting book called The Revolution That Wasn't: GameStop, Reddit, and the Fleecing of Small Investors. I really found this to be a really interesting analysis of what went on with all those meme stocks. And I also found it interesting, the larger lesson of how David versus Goliath can sometimes be distorted depending on who's telling the story. And so I think that this is also always a good lesson of like the hype of something that's going on and how we interpret it in real time and what lessons we can learn when looking back on it. So here is the first part of our interview with Spencer Jacob. Explain how you were first exposed to the Reddit communities that were kind of chatting about GameStop and AMC and these meme stocks. Tell the story of how this occurred.
Okay, well, so I work at the Wall Street Journal, and maybe a year before this whole crazy episode, you know, we'd see some stock go up 50%, 100% for a day, 2 days, and look for news because we were at the Wall Street Journal, and we wouldn't see any news, and then we'd say, like, oh yeah, well, it was talked about on Wall Street Bets. So I was aware that there was a rush of people coming into the markets who were new to the markets, who relied on social media for their ideas. And it'd be this sort of flash in the pan. And so I had my eye on that, but it was all kind of funny, it wasn't taken too seriously in the newsroom for sure, but even on Wall Street, although there's some people who followed it. Let's go to January 2021. I'm sitting at home because of COVID, editing an article for the next day's Wall Street Journal. I've got 3 boys. My oldest boy, who was home also for the same reason, came over and asked me if I was going to write something about GameStop. I was like, no, why? And I took a look at the share price. I was like, oh, well, it seems to have gone up a lot. He said, yeah, my friend bought it a couple of days ago and has doubled his money. And, he comes to me every once in a while with like, my friend did this, my friend did that. Young men are pretty risk taking when it comes to investing. I said, well, listen, I can't give out financial advice, but these don't last long. He should sell. And he said, no, he's not going to sell, which is a very strange thing to say. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, no, because they're talking about on Wall Street Bets. He explained the whole idea is not to sell. Without getting too technical, there's this thing that used to happen in the stock market. I mean, a century or more ago, that happened a lot, where people would gang up on somebody else who was exposed to unlimited losses because they had bet against a stock, they had shorted a stock. And just mathematically, just like most of us, we buy a stock or we buy a fund, the worst thing that would happen is you lose all your money. And the best thing that would happen is it goes up a whole bunch. But somebody who is in the business of betting against stocks, that's in reverse. So they're theoretically exposed to these unlimited losses, and they always have to be on the lookout for news and things happening. The people on this message board ambush them by not only agreeing to all go in and buy this stock, GameStop, and that of other companies all at the same time, and buy options that kind of were like supercharged their money, but they also agreed not to sell, so that those short sellers didn't have anybody to buy the stock back from, so they could cover their short positions, which was catastrophic. So it's like they were like in a crowded theater, and then somebody lit the theater on fire, and there's only one little door, and then they threw dynamite into the theater, and then they threw nitroglycerin on top of the dynamite. Like that was kind of the effect. So it was pretty incredible. I had never seen anything like that.
I hadn't either, and I'm a commodities trader by training from 100 years ago. And so I have seen that in real life, not just in trading places, but, like I actually experienced that where they were like, that guy's a jerk. He didn't use that word. He's short, let's squeeze him. But, it's what's interesting is that we've never seen this kind of mass movement among retail investors. I mean, it almost felt different to me than actually let's say the day trading of the late 90s, where, people just wanted to make money. Now we have these platforms that are sort of doing the cheerleading and the let's get back at the man. Talk a little bit about how the change in technology actually allowed this to maybe foment to a different level.
If you've been following markets for a while, the thing that you'll hear again and again, and it is true basically, is that this time is never different. That it's always, sort of history, it doesn't repeat, but it rhymes in the markets. That people are fearful and they're greedy, and you have manias and panics and crashes, and it's just a new generation needs to go through it. But this was different. This was different for a few reasons. One is that, the human psychology hasn't changed, right? But these companies that are in social media and that are developing the latest trading apps, they understand psychology and they know how to push our buttons. And so they just supercharged some of the effects out there, and they brought some new psychological wrinkles to it too. For example, the most popular app that these young people use by far was Robinhood, which pioneered zero commission trading. Now, when you charge zero for something, I don't know if you ever got lazy. I do sometimes on Halloween. I don't want to go to the door 50 times. So you just leave a bunch of Snickers bars, out by the door, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go out an hour later and some kid took every single Snickers bar and is going to have a bellyache, right? I mean, because it's free, right? Mm-hmm. So why not take as many? And not to oversimplify, but there's this tripwire. When you make something free, like if you made snow shovels free, people would still just want one snow shovel. Who needs 5 snow shovels? But if you make something fun free, this was fun for young people trading stocks, then they'll do it a lot. And there were people, the active customers of this company, Robinhood, were checking their accounts 7 or 8 times a day. Some of them were trading in excess of 10,000 times a year, which is just a lot. And so that set the stage for this frenetic burst of trading activity that affected GameStop and the other meme stocks. And the way that the app is set up, you open it up and oh, this is helpful. It shows me what's trending, what stocks people are talking about. Well, you know what? That's known as FOMO. If you're a young person especially, you want to see what everyone else is doing. Just like when you go on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, you want to see what's trending. You want to see what's cool. You want to see what everybody else your age is looking at. And so you saw the stocks everybody was talking about. And a lot of the times those stocks were up or down a whole bunch. And if you own those and you saw that they're up or down a whole bunch, then it made you more active. that's important to their business model, because if you charge zero for commissions, it's not really free, right? Nothing is free. But if you charge zero, then you got to make money somehow, and you make it all on the front end. You don't make any of it on the back end. They sell those trades to market makers like Citadel Securities and Virtu, and they get paid for every trade they send. And the wilder the trades are, the more that those market makers like to pay them, because the more kind of spread that their customers leave on the table in stocks or options, the wilder they are, the more they're likely to place a trade without a limit on it, the better it is for the market maker to fill it. They can, get a bigger fraction of a cent that they make on that trade. And they loved Robinhood. They paid Robinhood more than they paid a customer from Schwab or other places, because Robinhood customers were very lucrative for them, and they were trading like crazy, even though they had small accounts.
We'll get back to our interview with Spencer Jacob in just a second. If you've got a financial question, just go to jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll get your note. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And, we always talk about investing in this very methodical way here at the program. And the reason is that Mark and I have a very simplistic, or keep it simple, stupid approach to how we look at investments. And that is that it's awfully hard to beat a market index for lots of different reasons. Mostly because, we're really bad at picking individual securities. But, a lot of people do like it. And a lot of people do feel the thrill of investing when it comes to an individual security. And I understand that. So today, in this hour, we're talking to an author who kind of gets to one of the core issues of investing, which is it's really exciting. It can almost be like a drug that you feel, a gambling addiction, when you get it right. It feels so good, like you get this big dopamine hit. But when we are talking about GameStop or the Reddit influence, I think that the author Spencer Jacob has a really good way of weaving together a lot of different stories here, where we have a confluence of events that allowed some newer investors to enter into the game. Maybe they were home and not working or spending during the pandemic. We had stimulus checks that were floating around. There were these new platforms. There was time. There was energy. There was so much going on. So if you think that that's unique to you or someone in your family, it's not. There was a lot of it going on. So let's talk more about that with Spencer Jacob. I think there's the other confluence that you note in the book, which was really important, which is a lot of these younger or newer investors also had a little money. They had some money from stimulus. They may have not been spending as much money on doing, fun stuff because it's amid COVID. A lot of them were white collar workers who had a few bucks and they were going to throw it at the markets. And that seemed like a fun thing to do. And you point, and I completely forgot about this. Like, you also point out that this is all happening and there's not a lot of sports going on. And so there's all of this going on that is really fascinating. Robinhood, which we know, does this gamification of investing. And this quote that you had, I highlighted it because it just kind of freaked me out. A 19-year-old at the time when he made his first trade on Robinhood, this guy, Seth, he says, the volatility, it was the same sort of rush when I play poker. And I felt that, wow, this is addictive, essentially. And that's why people are, we're addicted to a lot of social media. But this is really intense because the addiction could cause you to actually lose a lot of money. And then also on top of that, Robinhood especially, but all these online firms, they love the activity. I'm wondering, how did this whole idea of let's stick it to the man. How did that start to develop? And then poke holes in why that's just essentially not going to happen in this way.
Well, I don't want to be condescending, first of all, to the young generation. I have people approximately that age group who work for me at the Wall Street Journal. I love you millennials and Gen Z, and I've got kids in that age group. But let's think about their formative experience, right? Some of them have student loans that are pretty crippling that they resent. Their formative experiences when it came to money were seeing oftentimes their parents struggle in the wake of the financial crisis when they were probably mostly too young to actually have accounts themselves, perhaps lose their homes, things like that. So they saw Wall Street as a place full of bad guys. It's not that they resent wealth, because as I explained, there are a lot of rich people who got a lot richer as a result of this. And there are rich people who they like, these kind of financial influencers like Elon Musk and people like that, and Chamath Palihapitiya, day trader Portnoy, so people who are already rich who are sort of their heroes. It's not that they were rich. It's that guys in suits on Wall Street were seen as bad guys. And then there's a subset of those bad guys in their mind that are like cartoon villains who are hedge fund managers who can bet against stocks, who can bet that stocks will fall. Because if you bet a stock is going to go down, I mean, that's a normal part of markets. It's nothing, but if you go right now into Google, Jill, and you type in short sellers are.
Okay, hold on, I'm doing it. Hold it. Short sellers are.
Did you get a really bad word, or?
I did.
Yeah, right? Okay, right? Okay, that's a necessary part of markets. You have to have somebody, price has to be approximately right, should be approximately right. That means you can't just have some people say, I'm going to buy the stock, and other people say, I'm not going to buy the stock. You have to have somebody who's going to say, well, this is really expensive. I'm going to take the opposite side of the bet. There's nothing wrong with that. But they were seen as these cartoon villains because they were betting against, and not just any stock, they were betting against GameStop. And they conflated that with trying to put GameStop out of business. Now, if you bet against a company, you're not trying to put it out of business. You just think it might go out of business, which was a pretty good bet when it came to GameStop. And I can say that as the father of 3 boys who used to go there all the time. And I've not been there too often recently because everything's digitized now. They buy games online. It's like Blockbuster 3 years before Netflix put them out of business. That's kind of the problem that they have. So it seemed like on the merits, like a pretty good bet. But GameStop, especially for these young men, and we're talking men from the ages of 18 to 35, it was a big part of their childhoods. It was a place they went all the time. It was a place they were nostalgic about. And here are these bad guys, they think, trying to put GameStop out of business, also AMC, also other companies, and then it turned into a cause because it's a twofer or a threefer almost, really. You could save this company somehow by buying its stock. You can stick it to the man by costing people on Wall Street a bunch of money. And the posts on these message boards that they were reading were like, how to bankrupt institutional investors for dummies and stuff like that. and the people had names too. And they had names that were like punchable names. The guy who lost the most money in this, his company was called Melvin Capital. He was one of the best paid people in America in 2020. He made $846 million personally, right?
Yeah.
In 2020. He bought a part of the Charlotte Hornets. He bought this like big beachfront property, and he bought a beachfront property next to it so he could build a playground and a tennis court. He was throwing money around like crazy. And he was one of the more modest hedge fund managers, by the way. And then the third thing was it was seen as a way to make a lot of money. And the people on these message boards, this is where young people went to get financial advice because they had just opened, about 10 million young people in America had opened brokerage accounts. And where do young people go for advice? They don't go to mom and dad's broker at Morgan Stanley or whatever. They go on the internet. They go on these message boards. And that's the other, I forgot to mention before, that's the other technological difference is you always had places where you could get bad advice about stocks. But if you go on social media, let's say, Jill, that you're really sensible and you have, you go on there and you post some really sensible advice, pretty sober you did. I like this stock. I put 5% of my portfolio into it. And here are my 5 really cerebral reasons for doing that. And somebody else goes on there and says, hey, I took out a second mortgage and put all my money into call options on this stock that'll expire worthless if it doesn't go up. Here's a screenshot of my account. here's some funny memes, and here's some rocket ship emojis. It's not just that that person's post is more exciting to a young person than yours, but because of the algorithms that operate on social media, your post won't even be seen. Your post is too cerebral to be seen. It's not going to get upvoted. And that person's post will get upvoted. So when somebody comes to that site and says, oh, I wonder what I should do with my money. I just got a stimulus check. I just opened this account at Robinhood. They're not going to even see your post. It's not visible. And that other post is very visible. So that's the kind of the atmosphere that created basically the conditions for this crazy story to happen.
We'll get back to our interview with Spencer Jacob in just a second. If you've got a financial question, just go to JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. Maybe you still own a little AMC or GameStop. I'd love to know that if you do. All right, we will be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back to the concluding part of our interview with Spencer Jacob. What you point out at the end of the book, which is horrifying, and I'm sure that no one wants to believe this, is like, bully for you guys. You just made every single firm that relies on trading and investing a lot richer in 2020 and 2021.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? And that's why the title is The Revolution That Wasn't. I mean, it would be a great story anyway if you just told the story, but you have to point out these people, and they don't like to hear it, because the people will say, well, I made a lot of money, or I'm still holding, or whatever. Good for you. Of course, any kind of bubble, and this bubble hasn't completely deflated, people will make money. But who made the most money? Like Wall Street, that's what you have to understand. Wall Street is a big place, and most people on Wall Street are middlemen. And the money is really made during times when people are active, when people are excited, when people are convinced somehow that they can beat the house. An analogy that I use in the book is you go to Las Vegas, and 100 feet away, all of a sudden lights and sirens go off, and somebody won a gigantic jackpot from the casino, like so big that like the casino won't make money that day. You know, they have to pay them a lot of money. You know, do you think the casino's sad? Do you think that it's an accident that they point, spotlights at the person, or like when someone wins the Powerball that you pose with a huge check in front of your house? Like, no, they like that. That excites other people. They think, oh, it could be me. I'm gonna play more. This is exciting. This is fun, right? And the casino lost money that day, but it's good for their business in the long run to have people crowing about their success and having obvious financial success, because people are pumping quarters into the machines faster. And not just that, but the hotel and the cab driver and the bartender and everybody else who doesn't take a risk, who isn't going to have to pay out a jackpot, when more people are showing up and they're making them rich. And a lot of the companies on Wall Street are like that cab driver. They're just glad you showed up.
And it's so funny because they are also taking advantage of the fact that they have been so profitable. And you mentioned that Morgan Stanley bought E-Trade. Happily, like glowing and saying like, yeah, these morons keep trading and we're making money. And one of your colleagues, Justin Baer, just had this great headline, which cracked me. I literally started laughing when I saw it, and I still get the physical paper. So apologies to the environment. But I saw the picture of Abby Johnson from Fidelity, and the headline was Fidelity, once stodgy and adrift, bets on the Reddit crowd. If you don't see the confluence of like how establishment is using you in that headline, man, I don't know where it is.
I have my 401k, and I'm not allowed to own stocks, but I just have funds and stuff like that. But I got an email from Fidelity last week because, I have kids. I have a 15-year-old as my youngest, and It's like, open up a youth account where you're a 15-year-old. Like, what?
I got a call from the Fidelity PR people because I said when they opened those youth accounts, I'm like, this is redonkulous. I cannot believe they're doing this. But whatever, they're cashing in, right?
Yeah. I mean, money, it's capitalism, right? And Robinhood, they made this beautiful app, but I spoke with problem gambling experts who look at the design of gambling apps. And first of all, what they tell you is that, that the only type of gambling that skews very young, where it's sort of the amount of money lost and spent is inversely correlated with age, is sports betting. And sports betting had taken off in 2018 after it was, a big Supreme Court decision allowed it to be legal in many states, most states. And these young people, young men, and I have young men in that age cohort too, who are old enough to sports bet. They don't do it, but almost all their friends do it. About 75% of their friends do it. And all of a sudden there are no sports. So that created an opening. And these apps are designed in the trading apps like Webull and eToro and Robinhood in a way that is eerily similar to these gambling apps in terms of, Robinhood finally took away this feature after they were sued, but like confetti going off occasionally and stuff like that, which is based on psychological principles that are of intermittent reward, where if you won every time, it would be less exciting than winning randomly and getting rewards, even if it's just, confetti on a screen randomly. And to these people, so I'm not saying it, they're saying it, don't sue me, Robinhood, but it is almost definitely taken from the design of gambling apps that try to reinforce the same psychological trends and push the same buttons.
I mean, anyone who's walked through a casino and hears a gling, 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 and knows that there's no windows and that you create this sort of ecosystem and you understand it. And of course, it's, they have neuroscientists designing these things, right? And,
yes, they do.
Right. So it's not surprising. What's the big takeaway here besides the fact you didn't stick it to the man? I mean, we have a lot of people who listen who want to trade a little bit in stocks. Maybe we have some parents listening who are worried about their kids. What's the messaging here? What can we have them take away?
Well, I think three things. One is it's exciting to trade stocks. It's a great intellectual exercise. The stock market is there. It's this game. Points are money. I get it. But if you or a young person in your life, wants to show their stuff, my advice is to sequester some small part of your money that if you lost it all, you would be okay, and only play the game with that part of your money. And the reason I say that is that the same technology, this is my second point, the same technology that made this possible, all the competition and technology that made Robinhood possible and made $0 commissions possible, and Robinhood says it democratized finance. Finance was already democratized because you used to have to pay a fortune to get into the stock market. To make a trade. They wouldn't even take your money if you had, $50. They wouldn't open an account for you. And today you can open an account with so little money and get charged so little just to buy a bunch of index funds, which is what I own personally. And you just buy them and set it and forget it. And the third point is that by doing that, you're accomplishing exactly what these people wanted to accomplish. So if you're a young person and you want to stick it to the man and make money, if you just take the bulk of your money and you're pretty passive with it, you don't check it a lot, you don't panic when the Dow's down 1,000 points, you just set it and forget it, contribute and let it compound, you're going to beat, I'm sure, 80 to 85% of your peers and 80% of fund managers, by the way, too, by just doing that. And you're going to pay Wall Street peanuts, nothing, a little bit, but almost nothing. Wall Street hates that, and they hate it when people wise up.
Thanks so much to Spencer Jacob. The book is great. The Revolution That Wasn't, GameStop, Reddit, and the Fleecing of Small Investors. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by answering your questions. So here's how you can get in touch with us. Just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. And when you do that, miraculously, this beautiful form comes up and you write down what your question is. Okay. Now, at the end of that form, it says, would you be willing to come on the air live with us? And if you say yes, it's so much more fun for all of us. I'm just saying. I'll answer the questions, but you are more likely to get your question answered more quickly if you come on the air. But it is still a wait, right, Mark? You don't skip it is a shorter line. It's like the pass you get when you go to Disney. It still could be a line, but it'll be faster than the other one. Anyway, this is from Pamela, who writes that she really enjoys the show. And she says, I've learned so much about finances from the show. My husband and I have a question about retirement. Okay, here we go. My husband is 58. I'm 48. We have a 10-year age gap, and I would like to retire early or at least work part-time if possible, but would like some advice on planning as to where we should put our pre- and post-tax assets. And then when we should claim Social Security, since we do have that age gap. It's not that big. She keeps making it sound like it's 30 years. It's only 10 years. Okay. She makes 93. The husband makes 150. They've got a 6-year-old son. That's the bigger issue. We are faculty at universities and also own a small business bringing in 12 grand a year. Could be more when the husband retires and works there. And $48,000 from rental property. How do you like that, Mark? 60 grand coming in. Pretty nice. They spend, she says, being generous, 12 grand a month now, could go to 9 if things are tight. Let's not try to go to 9. Let's stick at 12. They've got 3 houses, which sounds like 2 more than anyone needs. Okay. Their primary residence, $670,000. They owe 230 grand. Lake house, 450. They owe 200 grand. And a rental home, 350 grand with no mortgage. You know what's so funny? I always love these numbers, Mark, because it's like flipped on its head. The rental house should have the mortgage and doesn't, but the other ones do. So be it. Okay. They've got $1.5 million in saving, mostly in retirement, and they've got a revocable trust. Okay. And husband has a long-term care policy. They both have, that's interesting. They both have long-term care policies. He's got a whole life policy. Just stop paying for that. Education account has 35 grand. They put in $300 a month. They both get a 12% contribution to their 403Bs. And she says, I put an additional $11,000 in. It's post-tax. Eventually, I want to get that to the max. They contribute to HSAs. She says, I'd like to retire when my husband retires, and he would like to retire early if possible. They can opt into their healthcare insurance from work after retirement. That's good. If there's anything else we should do differently with our retirement accounts, pre, post-tax, as we approach that retirement year, what should we do when it comes to converting our investment plan to get a better tax break in the long run? Does it make sense that I mostly contribute to a post-tax 403B and he contributes pre-tax? Should we change that? Well, here's something that's interesting that as I look at it. I don't think you have to worry so much about retirement accounts. I mean, it's fine what you're doing. I think you need more money in non-retirement accounts. What do you think, Mark? Yeah, it doesn't say anything like you don't. It doesn't look like you. I mean, you must have a cash account because I presume that. You do not need to have whole life insurance. So as far as I'm concerned, you can blow out of these whole life insurance policies, take the money and make that be your emergency reserve because it does not look like you have an emergency reserve account. You probably need more term life insurance for the kid, for that purpose. I don't know how early he's going to be able to retire. I'm not seeing it, Mark. I think that there's a couple of things that are happening here. Number one, I mean, I know that they've got the income that's coming in. So they've got this money and then they have this rental income and the small business income, but they need more money. And they spend a lot of money. So I don't know what the idea here is. Like, would one of the homes be sold if you retired early? If he and you got the 6-year-old. So are you planning to? You probably have to stay in your place where your main house. And then what happens with the lake house? I don't know. These numbers are not adding up to me, Mark. Well, maybe it depends how much the side hustle can make, but you spend a lot of money. There's no way around it. There's like, that's real money that you're spending. And you got a lot of money in frankly, you've got a lot of money that's tied up in real estate, which is fine. I mean, I like real estate. I just think that I would really like to talk to these people on the, because you could potentially get things going, but we need to really understand what are the dynamics of how much money you could make after he retires. And I don't think that you should both retire at the same time. And you're both really young. I think what you need is a real retirement plan. We need to incorporate your insurance planning in that. And we need to really figure out over the next 10 years what you think should be happening and make the best adjustments that we can. So why don't you follow up with us? We'd love to hear more. And if you have a question like this, more detail is better, but please come on the show because it's so much better. So please do that. Again, JillOnMoney.com. That is our website. Click the Contact Us button and we'll get your note and we'll get you on the air. Okay? Mark does all the work. It's really easy. Okay. Jill on Money. We will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish the program, we always like to end with a little missive from one of you, one of your questions. If you have a question for us, all you need to do is go to our website. That is JillOnMoney.com. And you just click the Contact Us button. That is what Gwen did. And Gwen writes, since the pandemic, my daughter had to come home and then she was laid off, which meant that I incurred more expenses. Yes, a struggle, but I am managing. In regards to debt consolidation, might that hurt or harm me credit-wise? Well, this is a tough one. I mean, look, Gwen, your daughter comes home and you incur more expenses. That's kind of tough. I don't know if you're talking about debt consolidation for you or for her. So here's what I think. If you have outstanding debt, then I'd love to hear more from you. For example, what kind of debt? Is this credit card debt? Is it that you're living in a home and you may want to consolidate some of that debt with a mortgage? Is it her debt? Is it her student loan debt? It really depends on what's outstanding and also what the plan is in the future. What other alternatives do we have? It's tough when these situations occur, but if we kind of think of it more methodically, I think we can come up with a better answer for you and maybe for her. So fill us in on some of the details, okay? That would be great. Okay, that's it. That is the program. Listen, if you want more of us, I've got a great way to get more of us. Go to JillOnMoney.com and you can subscribe to both of our podcasts. There are two of them. One is called Jill on Money. The other is called Eye on Money. And you can just get it by going to our website. You can subscribe to both of them. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And if you wouldn't mind, try to lift someone up today. It will make them feel better and it will make you feel better. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.